Ellen at Rent Roll Starter. I want to share a little tip with you today that's in relation to getting started for the day. And it's actually in contradiction to a tip that I had heard very, very early in my career. So I'll tell you the tip that I heard earlier in my career, and then I'll tell you my tip that sometimes I use especially in my business, but sometimes in other areas of my life as well. So years and years ago, when I first started in property management, I got introduced to the concept of eating the toad. Now, that probably sounds really random if you haven't heard that term before. So the concept is, if you had to eat a toad every single day of your life to survive, what time of the day would you eat the toad? Would you eat it first thing in the morning, middle of the day, or last thing at night before you go to bed? And the concept is that it's probably best to eat the toad first thing in the morning to get it done, so that the hardest thing you have to do for the day has been done, and then everything else is downhill from here. And I would say that ordinarily, this is the best way to tackle tasks. Doing the hardest thing first is often the best way to do things, because once you've done the hard thing, then it's kind of all downhill from here. However, I sometimes have mornings where I just can't get motivated, and I certainly can't bring myself to doing the hardest task first. So I found another way of getting myself started and setting myself up for a little win. I do the easiest thing first. The thing that I know how to do with my eyes closed, with my hand tied behind my back. The thing that I could do in my sleep. And I do that first. And the reason I do that first is to give myself a little win at the start of the day. Because if I'm lacking motivation, it can take an awful lot to get me to do my hardest task. But it doesn't take too much to get me to do my easiest task. So that's my little secret. Some mornings when I just can't bring myself to doing the first task, the hardest task for the day, I do the easiest. And the cool part about this is, when I do the easiest task first, I feel a little bit like, oh yeah, great, I've done something for the day. I'm off to a good start. And then sometimes it's easy to just step straight into doing the hardest task next. But other times I need to work up to it. So I do the easiest, and then I do something a little bit harder, until I finally get to my hardest task for the day, the toad that I have to eat for the day. And what I've found is, on those days where I just cannot get myself going, working up to that big task is usually the best way for me to actually achieve the big task for the day. I would still say that I need to get the hardest task done in the first half of the day still, because if I leave it to the second half of the day, after lunch, when my energy is kind of slumping, I'm just never going to get it done, and in fact I might not do it at all. So the trick is, you still need to do it in the first half of the day, but sometimes you can just set yourself up to feel motivated by having a little win doing the easy thing first. So I'd love to hear from you about what you do to get yourself motivated. Are you the type of person who gets in and gets your hard task done to begin with? Or do you like to have a few little wins to get yourself feeling motivated and inspired, and then get in and do your hardest task? Leave a comment in the comment section below so that I can hear about how you like to start your day when you're not quite feeling motivated. And it'll be great for everyone else to get to see your tips and tricks, and we can learn from each other this way. Now, if you've got any questions about this method or anything else in relation to starting a rent roll, just drop us a line. We're at rentrollstarter.com.au. I'm Ellen from Rent Roll Starter, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video. Bye!